Project Maven uses drones as a primary source for its data collection. Project Maven is a AI initiative that primarily analyzes video footage from drones such as Scan Eagle, Predators, and Reaper models to identify objects like people, vehicles, and targets. It employs machine learning to process this drone imagery alongside other inputs. So while drones provide the main collection method, especially fully motion video, Project Maven initiates and integrates multiple sources, including satellites, infrared sensors, radars, geolocation data, and communication intercepts. By 2024, CENTCOM's version fused 179 different sources from land, sea, air, space, and cyber domains. It is not limited to drones, but relies heavily on them for real-time surveillance. I'm Joshua Hill, and this is the Swarm News, where veterans and engineers talk about the defensive tech the way that it actually works. Real world SUAS systems with no fluff. And with me, as always, is my co host.
I'm Vincent Lewis, and I'd like to say thank you for all those who are coming back and who have been liking, following, subscribing to our channel. If you haven't, we ask that you do. You like, follow, and subscribe. If you do that, it helps us grow our channel and helps us get more information out about the SUAS industry and things that are happening within it. With that being said, I go into a little bit of news this week. I think it's kind of helpful for everybody, for all those who are Civil Air Patrol enthusiasts or people who like to know more about kind of what they do. Right now, Civil Air Patrol, which is a civilian organization that's like nonprofit who helps to do search and rescue for different areas within each state. Basically, now the Civil Air Patrol has found that SUAS is going to help them with the SAR, or search and rescue. So they're using it where more often for disaster relief, real time aerial recon, for basically looking for people in that regard. So if there's someone maybe have been lost in the woods or needing to be found, or in the aspect of trying to figure out what things are going on that need help with identifying something, they're able to kind of help do that in the regards to civilian methods, and they're formally integrating them alongside crewed aircraft and staying within FAA frameworks so that they can make these more of a public guidance of understanding, so that they can utilize the tech that's going to be more common now before it gets forced down to them, and it makes sense. So it's good to see that they're already utilizing it in emergency efforts and helping to support the first responders in what they do. So that's a major one that we wanted to kind of highlight, that Civil Air Patrol is doing something that's pretty much not typically been in their wheelhouse, but I think over the last 5 or 6 years, they actually been using a lot. You just don't hear about it as much. On the same effort, DoD, or in a similar effort in the DoD, the Army is actively expanding their SUAS training to emphasize it more for the SUAS, and now treating it as a serious battlefield threat and a key ISR tool for regular units, which that's amazing to hear. I'm making sure that that's being definitely heard, because a lot of times the Army doesn't get its due diligence of getting props for actually making changes in a real world situation the way it should. So them actually now saying, hey, look, we understand these are actual threat. We feel that we need to now make a better emphasis to utilize them, is amazing, because the war of the future for anybody who will be serving, my kids, grandkids, whoever in the future, I really feel for them, because this is not going to be a war that we have ever seen. And it's going to be almost like how World War I and World War II was, in the aspect of, if that ever happens, this is not going to be a simple, normal thing. It's like how the machine gun changed the difference between how the Civil War was to a time frame where that machine gun was just a major game changer along with the airplane. But with that being said, I don't have anything else for news. You got anything, Josh?
No, man, I'm good. I like the stuff that we just mentioned and brought up. So to kick us off today, we're going to do it a little bit different. So the Maven project, the point where AI stopped being a future concept and became a battlefield workflow tool. So with that being said, I mean, in my opinion, Maven solved a real pain point for an analyst. Like there's just we collect so much data and video and just content that we can't as an analyst, we don't have the time to view everything. So with Maven, I think Maven brings us to a point where we can like use AI as, like I said, a workflow tool. Like it's like no kidding, doing and analyzing stuff for us and flagging for us so that we as analysts can go look at it. So I like to I'm just making the point that like Maven is an AI tool, but it is not autonomous. Like we are still in the workflow of it.
I think that is a good one. Like the one thing I was going to say is that I think it's going to be a big help, especially for analysts trying to figure out certain things, the information. So it'll be interesting how it'll be utilized because like it can go through and look at video and pull out key points. But I don't know if you can actually trust in it enough to where you can say you go through, let it completely look at that video and say it's actually going to meet or recognize everything in it. It will reduce the amount of time and give you some key areas, but I have a feeling they're still going to have a bunch of people trying to like look at a whole 6 hours. But if it's live, it's not bad. You won't have to have that big of a deal. But if you're looking at aftermath of what a video is being put up, still gonna probably have to look at it, but it will reduce some of the time, I think.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. So I think like, so it's going to help make operations faster because AI is faster than humans. And Maven was notable because, well, it wasn't just a research lab project. It was built to be fielded quickly. Like things we keep talking about, like let's get things working in for the government faster than what we've been doing. And it's used by the warfighters to make one the major attempts to operationalize it. This was our first step of operationalizing AI, and I think they've done a pretty good job so far.
Yeah, I
Like to
mean,
keep that human in the middle. I think that's the reason that it works.
great. Like having it to where a system augments the human that's in the loop is a helpful asset to whoever is going to end up using it. Being on that side at one point, you don't really have that. You basically are, when you're in the shelter, you're controlling that camera to where it's at, you were looking at. And at that point, especially the older system in the army, you're like, if you break contact on whatever you're looking at, there's no guarantee that even if you get back on it, that you can action that target. If you have cameras that are better now, like that's a good thing too. The cameras that are on these systems are better. So that means that now you will be able to get accurate information. You'll be able to get higher resolution from a lot of these sensors so that it allows the AI to be able to do what they need to. And then also it gives especially in a combat situation, it'll give the battle captain more confidence in what they're making a determination on in regards to actioning a target or what they need to do in regards to getting support into moving information to the right people. So if the AI can help support getting that clarity quicker, I think all for it. It's just ensuring that what my concern would be is being completely reliant, just like how the drones became the initial thing for Iraq, Afghanistan war. We were using them for everything and relying on just pretty much that in regards to actioning targets and doing a lot of things. So it'll be interesting if that's what happens, where we get to points where we completely do all the due diligence and everything. Not saying it didn't happen, but in the gist of it, it allows you to now see that information being guided in a better way.
So let me ask you this then. So with what you just discussed, like if it goes more autonomous than it does with man in the middle, are we looking at ethics issues?
Yeah. And that's my biggest one is like, cause just like a autonomous car on the ground, okay, it hits and kills somebody. I guess you put the company as the one who's the person who's accountable for that accident, or you put the owner. You know what I mean? So there's a difference between the owner and the operator or the manufacturer in this case. So will the AI be the one that determines what it needs to? The determination and ethics of I found what I see, I'm doing what I need to, and moving forward. That our project Maven is going to help to solidify this, but it will be on the humans who are in the loop to make sure that this stuff works well.
So then human decision making still matters. I mean, Maven did not replace analyst or autonomously fire any weapons. It's supported by them. It tags the things. It lets the correct organizations know what information is available to them, leaving the final decision to people. Like that's ultimately what we're doing currently with it.
Correct. And it's a, I think right now it's a fine line between a system being able to provide proper information and the proper data that you would need in order to do the actioning on targets the right way. So that would be the biggest one that will help support the ground troops who are actually needing to fight this battle, is knowing that what this information that's being given to it from an AI side can literally flow it not only in a aspect of just getting the information out, but flow with an opportunity to actually provide proper, actionable, correct information. And if that information is coming from multitudes of different sensors, not just UAS, but actually taking all those and putting them into one, and then taking it and processing it to a place to where it's like, hey, this is what I think it'll be. And someone can see that and know where it got it from. That's the key too. Knowing where it got it from and putting it into a useful way that you can go back and research it. So, I mean, I'm not sure what your thoughts are on what that would be. And a way of seeing information from multitudes of different assets, and then being able to say, I can make a determination because the AI told me this is the best option. I don't know. That's even what's your thoughts on that being a point of reference?
All right. So what I kind of think you're saying is it became a model for data integration. Maven's long-term significance is broader than video analysis. It's evolved into a platform for combining data from many sensors and sources into a common operating picture, which is now the major theme in our modern warfare and how we fight today's wars. I don't know if you agree with that, but that's how I see it.
Yeah, I think there's becoming a high reliance on the autonomy because it can help speed up actions. With that speed though, I mean, it's just like when I look at talking with my kids, the younger kids are doing everything like this, but they're not taking, in my perspective, a opportunity to slow down and think critically about what's going on. If you have a system that's constantly making easy, quick determinations, are you really doing your due diligence to ensure that that target that you're looking at is in the right space? Is there other things that you need to take in consideration of, like your BDR process? You know, is there collateral damage that could happen from what you're going to do if you only, not saying they're going to only rely on it. Let's just be clear. Most of the time, most analysts aren't going to just rely on just that sensor, but I could see that happening when they get in a push of a rush where it's like, I got to do something right now.
Yep.
And I don't have that time. That's the concern. Will you be at a place to where you can make a determination that's more 95% accurate, be confident in it, because you know that the system is going to do what's necessary to keep you in a ethical and non-compromising position without you having to worry about, oh shit, I made a bad decision. I got to worry about going to jail. That's the key.
Right. So, and I think leading into this with what you're talking about, I think that leads into the fact of like the public versus private tensions in defense right now with AI. I mean, Maven also became famous because of the backlash with Google, which turned it into a symbol for the ethical and business tensions that come along with working in the Silicon Valley, working on military technology. Is that good or bad? Like, where are we headed? Are we doing the right thing? Is this where we should be going? I mean, because if we decide ethically that no, this is wrong, our near peers don't think that way. They're definitely already putting all this stuff into their weapons and future aircraft and everything that they're doing.
Yeah, I think that when you really think about it, Silicon Valley and the civilian industry has always been incorporated into the defense industry. That's where most of it came from. When you think about, say, the instance of when the B-29, just looking at this episode on this, the series about how it came about, and I bring this to a point because it's very similar to what we see in drones right now. B-29 was a necessity that was needed during World War II because we didn't have a bomber that could reach out to the Japanese mainland and strike. We did it with the Doolittle raids, but the problem was that we didn't have an aircraft that could carry enough payload and actually make it back. So they came up with the concept for the B-29 Super Fortress, saying, hey, this is going to meet it. Northrop Grumman, or was it Northrop or Lockheed? I think it was Lockheed, if I'm not mistaken. I'll look up and put it on here, make sure. But anyway, the defense contractor that won the contract designed the aircraft and came up with a prototype, but the army bought the prototype before it even got into a place to being able to actually be used. So with that being said, it ended up killing more people. It killed more troops than the actual enemy killed, or I should say, it killed more of our troops than the actual enemy shooting it down or being killed because of enemy action on that aircraft. So that is an example of, if you try to implement something too quickly without actually giving it the opportunity to go from a prototype or concept into something that's actually usable, it could actually do more harm than good in the initial beginning state, which is kind of the aspect of what we always seem to run into, because they're not proactive. I hate to say it, the fucking government, excuse the language, but the government is not as proactive as they should be at times. And I will say, seeing some initiative and things that they're doing now is starting to become very proactive, but it's after action of something that has already been seen, is like there's a problem. Now we're reacting still. And I think in that perspective of it, we need to do better in just of the civilian side, providing that information to them to get their actions to be better and what they need to do to use it. But the government in general needs to be better at deciding things earlier and not waiting for it to be a necessity or a thing that has to happen.
Yep.
You know, and that's the problem. So these systems that we're, even this with what we're talking about, be great as long as they are not like pushing it quickly without doing the diligence of actually making sure the shit works right.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I think that's smart. Like due diligence is the biggest issue we're dealing with on a lot of things. Like, and I think that's one of the reasons that there's so much damn red tape with the government when you're doing new contracts and doing new systems and getting them out. Is like we have it because of past issues. But I'm thinking like from everything we've been talking about, like it sounds like the change of the pace in targeting and planning and executing is been improved by Maven. Maven is widely discussed as the system that's reduced the time from detection to decision, which is why it matters so much for us operationally right now. I think it is what has allowed us to move so fast in the current conflict we're dealing with.
Yeah. And I've seen like reports showing that in early analyzing of the Maven system, they have found that the accuracy has improved from 60% to about 80% over the days that was used for modeling and updating itself in the field to where it can be more accurate, actually recognizing. And that's why I kind of put out that insight of like, as long as it's actually able to do what it needs to and make it to where it actually hits what's is supposed to hit at in regards to whatever the data is putting out for it or whatever they're trying to gather, the would be a big thing. I mean, in your perspective of seeing how the system is going to be implemented, what do you think is the best method for, not even method, what do you think they need to actually hone in on for ensuring that they get the accurate information out of it that they would need?
I think it's going to come down to mostly like, let's make sure we're tagging and clearing the right things that we're pushing to our analysts to actually look at. I think that's going to be the fastest part, and some of it may be that they're getting more than, they're still getting too much data. Like they're still finding more than what our analysts can handle is, I think, part of the problem. I still don't know that we have enough analysts to handle the amount of data that Maven Project's pushing out. If I mean, I don't know. I've never personally worked with Maven Project, so I can't speak to it. But like my assumption, that would be my assumption, is that there's just not enough analysts, even with Maven Project reducing the amount of intel that these guys are looking at, that I still don't know that it's reducing it enough.
Yeah, I could understand that one, because I know even when I was in the army, we would be collecting hours and hours and hours of a video. And I have a feeling most of that stuff was never getting used because we had to go back and break down some of that stuff. So if we didn't make like written points on what was going on in a certain time, certain place, location, whatever, God only knows what we could have possibly missed. And now going forward, there is an opportunity that these systems can start to make check marks and data points on where something that we may need to know is there. The only thing that you run into is like, can the actual AI really give you what you're asking for? Because it can give you some plus some or not. Like in the aspect of, there was a recent article on our recent news report where, and it was CNN was talking about, they were talking to a Red Hat hacker who was trying to ensure that the AI works, and he's providing information to different companies on how their AI could be useful to keep breaches for internet intrusions into their systems. And he used it, and it actually went and found out all the problems, but it went above and beyond by saying, hey, I actually got out of the system, and it was able to email the person who actually requested the problem to be given to him, and gave them an understanding and kind of boasted about what it did to them, saying, hey, I was able to get out, and I was able to find these problems. These were what were not a problem, but this is what I was able to do. And here you go. Here's the information. So it went above and beyond, but it wasn't what it technically was asked to do. So when you run into a problem where can the AI completely meet what you need or go over and beyond? Where's the, and what is the, how can I put it, the guardrails that that system is going to have, whether known or unknown, to help support what you need to get. You know, God forbid a data leak of something gets pushed out, that's something that is not necessarily was supposed to be given to someone, and shit like that happens, and then you got a major problem with people getting killed. That's another concern that we have to look at and consider.
Yeah. So, well, I think that wraps up everything we've had to talk about today. Want to throw out there like, hey, subscribe. If you've made it this far, subscribe, like, follow. If you enjoyed it, let us know. Put some stuff down in the comments. We'll respond back to you.
Yep. Thank you. Appreciate you, you know, liking, subscribing, and following us. And again, this is Swarm News. And I'm Vincent Lewis.
And I'm Joshua Hill. We'll catch y'all next time.
Later.